Okay, for this activity, what I want you to do is to play this screencast, and as you play it, there will be a couple of questions that you have to answer, and you need to answer them in your maths book or on a document, a Google document. Either way, you need to submit it onto Google Classroom. Okay, so this lesson is about prepaid plans as opposed to contracts. So last lesson we talked about contracts. Now we're looking at prepaid plans. Okay, so this is an example. What you see in front of you here, this is an example of a Telstra prepaid plan. I'll actually show you more closely how it works. So there's the actual prepaid plan. These are all the different options you've got. Now this particular one, this is the long life, what is called the long life plan, and these are plans that last a fair amount of time. They go beyond 1 month. Most prepaid plans will expire after 30 days. So even if you haven't used most of your data or most of your phone calls that you've paid for, you lose them, and that's one of the disadvantages of a prepaid plan. But these ones last longer, and you'll see that the $70 one and the $100 one last for a full year. But there are a couple of catches with prepaids. Firstly, you'll notice that the call rates, you don't have unlimited calls because you're charged at a certain rate. So if you're making an Australian phone call, you'll be charged 30 cents per minute or part thereof. And if it's an international phone call, it'll be 39 cents per minute. Okay, now this part thereof is really, really important to understand. So that means that if you make a phone call that is 61 seconds long, then that is 1 second beyond 1 minute. So you actually will pay for that second minute as well. So a 61 second phone call will cost you, if it's an Australian phone call, that will cost you 60 cents, not 30 cents. And the thing is, a 61 second phone call and a 119 second phone call will both cost you 60 cents because they both used up as far as what Telstra consider to be 2 minutes of phone call time. So the moment you go into the next minute, if it's 1 second or 5 seconds, you'll be charged for that extra minute. Notice also that texts are charged at a rate of 30 cents each, or 35 cents each if international. Also notice that your data is charged at 10 cents per megabyte, not gigabyte. That's 10 cents per megabyte. Now you're going to work out how expensive that is in a moment. Alright, so what I'd like you to do is to so highlight the main information there. What we're going to do, by the way, remember that getting back to our data, that that you're being charged at 10 cents per megabyte, not gigabyte, a megabyte, and there are 1,000 megabytes in 1 gigabyte. Okay. Now, when you normally have a contract, normally your data is measured in gigabytes. 1 gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes. So you can think of a megabyte, 1 megabyte equals 1,000th of a gigabyte. And you'll be charged 10 cents for each megabyte of data that you use. So the first question you need to answer is this: how much, at this rate, how much will 1 gigabyte of data cost you? How much will 1 gigabyte cost you? So I want you to work that out. Okay, when you've done that, move on to the next section. And here, which is question 1, I want you to answer these questions assuming you've gone for the $100 prepaid plan. I shall get rid of that stuff. So assume you've gone for the $100 prepaid plan, and you need to work out, firstly, A, how much time you have to recharge. We've already sort of discussed that. Part B, how much of your credit do you have you used for each of the following? So if it's a $100 recharge and that's your credit, you've got $100 credit to begin with. Okay, you've got $100 credit. Now, here, it's asking you to work out how much credit have you used if you make 25 phone calls, and each one of those phone calls was somewhere between 31 and 59 seconds long. So how much money did you actually end up spending making those phone calls, and therefore how much credit did you use? How much credit did you use if you actually sent 48 texts, and that, by the way, they're Australian local texts? And thirdly, how much credit did you use if you made 22 international phone calls, and they are also between 31 and 59 seconds long, okay? And then if you did all three of those, you did this, this, and this, how much of your credit would you have left over if you did all three, okay? So that's the next thing you need to work out. So the next thing, so there's a little mistake there. I'll just get rid of that now. Oops. Where are we? We are here. And so I'll just sort of get rid of a little error there. Get rid of that. And that should be a dotted line, dotted box. Okay, so if you had to create a formula to work out your credit remaining, in other words, if you had a $100 plan and you wanted to work out how much credit you've got left over, here is a formula that will allow you to work it out. But I've left off the signs. I've left off the mathematical symbols that go in each of these boxes. So the remaining credit would be $100, something call costs, something text costs, something data costs. So you need to work out what the missing sign is and fill that in. Copy that formula down and fill in the missing sign. Now for this third question, this is a bit trickier. We could create use a formula to calculate how much any given call costs you. Now, in this particular plan, in this particular plan, each call will cost you 30 cents or $0.3. There it is. And if you make a 2-minute phone call, it will cost you 2 times 30 cents. If it's a 3-minute phone call, it will cost you 3 times 30 cents, and so on. But to make it a bit more accurate, if you had a phone call that was, say, 348 seconds long, how much did that cost you? Well, you could actually plug that into this formula. So where you see the length of the phone call in seconds, you put in the number of seconds you've got. So this would be 0.3 times 348, which would go in there, and you divide that by 60. So actually, you do 348, which is the time of your phone call. You divide that by 60, and then you'd round, whatever you get for that, you'd round up to the nearest whole number. So whatever you get for this, you'd round up to the nearest whole number. And then you'd multiply that by 0.3, and that will tell you the cost of your phone call in dollars. So what you now need to do is work out how much would each of these phone calls cost you. One that's 3 minutes and 25 seconds, one that is 18 minutes and 14 seconds, and another one that was 9 minutes and 58 seconds. So you can use this formula to help you. And that is actually all I want you to complete. So those 3 pages, you can pause the video anytime you like, but I'd like you to complete those questions and include your responses either on a document or in your book and then photographed and uploaded onto Google Classroom. Thank you.